Welcome. You're listening to Coffee Break with Purdue Engineering, a podcast production from the Office of Future Engineers at Purdue University. In this podcast series, we discuss the many programs, majors, and opportunities found in Purdue Engineering through conversational interviews with staff, faculty, alumni, and current students. We hope you enjoy our show and it helps answer some of your questions about what it's like to be an engineering student at Purdue. All right, welcome to this week's episode where we will be discussing Purdue's Multidisciplinary Engineering, or MDE, major. I'm one of your hosts, Calvin Given, a current graduate student in electrical engineering from Lakewood, Colorado.
And I'm your other host, Bryan and Akinmade. I'm a current sophomore in electrical engineering from Miami, Florida. And some things I'm involved with on campus are the National Society of Black Engineers, the Minority Engineering Program, and Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And this week we are joined by Matt Silva.
Hi, I'm Matt. I'm a senior in acoustical engineering. Well, I guess we'll get into it a little later. I am in multidisciplinary engineering, but it's a little more complicated. I'm from Ithaca, New York, upstate. Beautiful place. Visit it if you're nearby. Some things I do. I'm involved with a lot of music things on campus. I don't make a whole lot of music myself, but I'm pretty involved in the music scene here. I'm the president of one of the radio clubs on campus. There's a few of them. Wiley Radio, been the president of that for 3 years. Do a lot of work with that. Also have a minor in electrical engineering, so that's mostly just schoolwork though.
Yeah, and what do you do? So we'll dive into those clubs and organizations for sure. What do you do? What do you enjoy doing as like a hobbies, or what are some of your favorite things that you like to do back home?
Yeah, sure. I listen to a lot of music.
Ties right into your major.
Which is makes sense. Big fitness guy. Work out a lot.
Okay.
Not a lot.
Go to the co-rec, I assume.
Yeah, co-rec. Yeah, good stuff. Yep. Sometimes a little busy, but pretty solid.
Most of the time,
I'll definitely say fashion.
So much stuff.
What?
Fashion.
Oh yeah, I'm into clothes,
guy.
shoes, making poor economic decisions all around. Used to be into cars, but I'm not allowed to drive anymore. So not because I crashed or medical reasons.
Okay. Good clarification. Good clarification.
I didn't hit anyone. Everyone's okay.
Yeah, and so what was it like for you coming from New York and getting to Purdue? How did you decide on Purdue, and what was your journey like to get here?
So I was like COVID year. Well, I guess year after COVID, right? Everything kind of started to open up. So applications were pretty tough for most places because a lot of people took a gap year. Admittedly, Purdue was like kind of a safety school for me, based on like my grades and stuff in high school. There's a lot of other big schools I applied to for engineering, but I had a cousin that went to Purdue and he really liked it. He's graduated a couple years ago, but he was an ME. And I was like, I guess I'll give it a shot. And I didn't have to write anything extra at the time. I think they've changed the application. You had to write an essay now. But before, you only had to write something if you were applying to honors. And I didn't apply to honors, so I just submitted it. I didn't get into the other schools I was looking at. I got into a couple other schools. And I looked at them. One of them was Northeastern in Boston. Yeah. And I went down there. And Boston's a cool city, but it's very like overcast all the time and like rainy.
Sounds like you're describing the Midwest winter a little
bit. Okay, but
minus the rain, maybe.
I guess it's I'm from New York, but like when people say New York, they think the city. Upstate New York is not that different from Midwest, other than being significantly prettier. I won't lie. We got hills. We have water.
That's all you need.
This part of the Midwest is lacking. I know there are parts of the Midwest.
There's lots of nice places around amidst the corn, but there's a lot of corn around Purdue.
This weekend, that was cool. I was a little underwhelmed though. It's a national park. It's like.
Well, it's just really cool formations, how those dunes can form and just sustain like that, and it would have been even cooler if they had stopped the industrialization of the area earlier.
But like, as a national park, we're comparing to like Yosemite, Smoky Mountains.
I think it's cool.
It's neat. It's all right.
Anyway, back on topic. I suppose.
Anyway, I toured Northeastern and I toured Purdue. I kind of got scammed a little bit when I would visit Northeastern. It was like 40, cloudy and rainy and windy, and when I came to Purdue, it was like 80 degrees and sunny, and it was like, wow, this is great. Also, from someone who's not like from like a big city, like living in a city is like kind of daunting. This felt much more comfortable for me. The weather turned out to not be true. I learned the next year that we
not
get like
80 all the time.
2 or 3 of those days a year, and I don't know how I landed on that one, but
the fact is that you landed there, though.
I did land on. It was also significantly cheaper than Northeastern.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, when I came and visited, it was one of the I guess the opposite of your visit day. It was the 20 or so degrees, snow on the ground, pretty cold. You definitely had to wear that winter coat. But yeah, no, I just loved the campus and the people on here, and so despite the weather, here I am.
The people are friendly. That is true. They talk about that a lot on the broadcasts and stuff.
The people are friendly, and the community is just so collaborative.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so now talking about more, I guess, MDE and acoustical engineering.
Sure.
How did you get involved with that? Could you kind of briefly describe MDE, any concentrations, and how you get a part of like acoustical engineering?
Sure. When I came to Purdue, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and that was kind of part of the appeal, is that first-year engineering is the same for everyone. I'm guessing the people who watch these types of videos have watched like the broadcasts and stuff, so they're probably familiar with the first-year engineering program. But you can make a decision at the end of the first year, and there's a lot of different options you can take. That is a large benefit of being at a big school, I think, is that you have all of these options. MDE is not a common major, I don't think.
No, I think there's about 60 or 70 total in the major.
Yeah. But I mean, like at other universities, I don't think you can like find something quite the same. But MDE, multidisciplinary engineering. There's also IDE, which is interdisciplinary engineering. They're very similar, but IDE is not ABET accredited, so it's not like a real engineering degree. You like Polytech and like versus like School of Engineering, right? So you can't like get your
just for a little clarification, ABET is an accreditation board that accredits those undergraduate engineering degrees as meeting a certain level of standards, and pretty much to get an engineering job, you're going to want to have a degree that is ABET accredited.
Yes. I think that's most important if you want to, if it's in your career goals to like get a PE, like become a professional engineer. It's like a little title you can get at the end of your name. I don't think you can do that without the ABET accreditation. I was super into music at the time, and I still am, obviously. So that was kind of an appeal for me, was because so MDE has many concentrations underneath it. So I said earlier I'm an acoustical engineer, so that's my concentration. But I think there's 9 different concentrations. There's not that many common ones. The major's pretty small, so like I don't think I've even met someone from every single one. Acoustical is, I think, probably the second largest. Visual design engineering, which is also pretty cool. That's, I think, the largest most years. It's also theater engineering. There's engineering management. There's just like MDE, like general engineering. I shouldn't say just. It's still MDE. You still take all the hard classes, but it doesn't have like, you can do many things in it, but it doesn't have an official title other than just MDE. There's also like lighting engineering and stuff like that. But and humanitarian, I think I met one humanitarian engineer. But I got sidetracked. What was the question? Was how I chose acoustical.
It sounds like, well, it was describing the major as a whole.
You did pretty well.
It pretty much sounds like it's a way if you're really interested in a niche or special topic that doesn't necessarily fall under one of the common engineering courses, you can fuse all of the engineering disciplines together with a focus in a very niche area to to get that accomplished. And so I assume the career goals you're looking at are very similar to the area that you're studying for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will mention, like, if you go into MD, you can do it because you have something very specific in mind.
Yeah.
Like I was told yesterday about this one MDE grad that was like super into windmills, and all he wanted to do was work on windmills. And so he went into MDE. There's no title for it. He was just MDE. But he got to take like power systems classes that he wouldn't have been able to take otherwise. In most scenarios, like the course load is pretty similar to like mechanical engineering. So you can do most things just with a mechanical engineering degree that you can with an MDE degree, depending on where you go. But you can just put yourself a little bit more in a niche than you otherwise would be able to. But like the high-end acoustics classes for me are in the mechanical engineering school, and so most of my friends, I didn't have any acoustical engineering friends in those classes. All my friends were mechanical engineers. So you can go into it with something very specific in mind, but you can also be kind of broad with it. For me and a lot of other people, it's sort of like a compromise between two different things.
Yeah.
Like I'm really into engineering. I really like the problem solving aspect. I like the collaboration. Also, it's usually a pretty safe option as a career choice.
Yeah.
Whereas like going to like music school, that's maybe not
as appealing.
Well, maybe appealing, but your parents might not be as comfortable with that decision. Same with visual design is kind of mixing like art and engineering. So like visual arts. So if you wanted to go to art school, but you're also into engineering, you can kind of combine them there. That doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be doing artwork in an engineering. It's what you can do with it is pretty broad. Like you think about like the like visual aspects of like car design, right? Something like that, or like designing like shoes. I've got a friend who really wants to design shoes. I don't know what I'll end up doing. But yeah, you can go into it with something very specific in mind, or you can go into it broad, but with just kind of a general area of interest. Because it is multidisciplinary, like that's the whole point of it. Is that you can get a taste of a bunch of different majors and bring them together. If you go into it without any kind of interest at all, I don't think that's super beneficial. Just in my opinion, like taking the nuclear school materials class doesn't really give you a whole lot of insight into nuclear engineering that you wouldn't get from just taking the regular materials class that every other ME student takes. But because MDE, you have to have that the ABET accreditation, you have to take a certain number of classes that fit into like what they call like the engineering toolbox. So your sophomore year and most of your junior year aligns almost identically with mechanical engineering, because that's like the most standard engineering this school, I would say. So like I had to take thermo, I had to take statics, dynamics, I had to take fluid dynamics, circuits. I ended up taking the electrical minor just because it was something that was interesting to me. So I also took circuits too and signals and stuff, but you otherwise wouldn't have to. The way you're forced to take classes is a little bit different. So I had to take fluids. Most ME students have to take a fluids lab the following semester. I did not, because I had a lab I only needed a certain number of engineering labs. And I took my circuits 2 lab instead. So that covered that. It does allow you a good amount of flexibility that you wouldn't get in other majors, in terms of at least what classes you take. A lot of other majors are still very flexible once you get out of school, obviously, especially if you're like mechanical. You could go into like management if you wanted to.
That's 100% the case. A lot of the engineering degrees, because while MDE might specifically label it as that engineering toolbox, all of the engineering degrees are going to get a lot of the same fundamentals, and that allows you to really work in pretty much any engineering role, no matter what your degree said. So, like, for example, my dad, he graduated as an aerospace engineer, both his bachelor's and his master's, but he practices, and he's practiced his entire career as a mechanical engineer.
Okay, yeah.
Just because they have all the same sort of fundamentals, and he just had to learn how to apply it a little bit differently to be able to switch into those different kind of roles. And that's something really unique about engineering. Before we get too deep into the coursework and stuff for MDE, what drove you to actually select that when you were back in first year engineering? I know you said you were interested in music, but you've also said that the multidisciplinary engineering tracks are very similar to mechanical. So what led you to choose multidisciplinary engineering with that acoustical engineering concentration over, say, mechanical engineering, and how'd first year engineering help you make that choice?
And kind of on top of that, like, I know we were kind of talking about how some of your courses are kind of ME related or nuclear related. So do a lot of your classes have that, like, students that are taking ME and nuclear? Like, is it kind of mixed in, or do you have classes where it's like fully MDE?
Okay, yeah. I'll go with Calvin's question.
Yeah.
In first year engineering, I won't lie, it was kind of a gut decision. You do get exposed to different majors in first year engineering, but you don't really get a whole lot of hands-on stuff. At least my sections didn't. You can talk to different people in different majors. They'll have different videos for you to watch, right? But there's not that many acoustical people to talk to. There are some. You can talk to them. I'm here if you can reach out to me. But it just sounded interesting, and so I went with it. There wasn't a whole lot of thought process behind it. I guess part of the idea is that if I decide I don't like it, all my classes are the same the first year, so I can just switch back into mechanical if I wanted to, which was my second choice at the time. Or even like if I wanted to switch into like electrical engineering or computer engineering, I'd probably have to take like an extra semester, because I don't think they take statics dynamics, right?
No, we don't.
So
primarily the circuits course, signals,
coding,
probability stuff. The gist, the run through of it. But okay, that's interesting to hear how you made that decision. And was there anything else you wanted to add about the first year engineering transitioning into acoustical engineering?
I think so. I would definitely talk to people, either like instructors in the major first or students in the major if you're interested about it, because it really is not for everyone, I don't think. It is a very small major, and it is small for a reason. It just doesn't make sense for most people if you don't have specific goals. But yeah. And then you had asked about my the people in my classes.
Yeah, like,
right?
essentially, like, are you kind of mixed in with other ME students, nuclear students, or like whatever you're learning, or do you have like courses where it's kind of like everyone's MDE in that class?
Yeah. Okay. So for the most part, there are no like MDE classes.
Gotcha.
The only MDE IDE classes. They're all labeled as IDE. I don't really know why. But they're like your sophomore and senior seminar. So like my senior design class right now is IDE something. I don't know the number of it. Yeah. And you have a sophomore seminar thing too. There's like you can take a stats class in the IDE school, and those are all IDE, MDE kids. Same with like there's an economics and like an ethics course that are all in that school. But that's not going to make up the most of your course load. Most of it's going to be ME classes or other schools. You have options in like you don't have to take nuclear engineering classes. If I'm being honest, they tell you to take that because it's easier and you don't really need materials that much. It's like which is kind of forgiving if you are in like you can opt out of mechanical engineering fluid dynamics, which is a very hard course. Instead take civil hydraulics, which is a little bit easier.
So that's really cool.
usually.
You get to basically make your schedule and see what you want. You can learn, like you kind of said, like mixing up different majors so you can learn kind of a specific thing.
Yeah, and in most cases, it doesn't make that much of a difference.
Yeah.
And the mechanical engineering school is very well organized and put together, so that's usually what you go with. But the course load is also very rigorous.
Yeah.
And if you have other things on the side that are more important to you, and the ME class for that section just isn't that important to you,
Yeah.
it might not be worth taking the harder one. I did end up taking like ME classes most of the time just because I like the way they're laid out. And so all of my classmates were mechanical engineering students. There were some like electrical engineering classes that had like mechie students in them too, because like they still have to take like 2K1, like there's intro to circuits and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like when I took the nuclear class, that was mostly people in nuclear engineering. There were actually a good number of people in IDE or MDE because not many people outside of it take it.
Yeah.
But you're usually surrounded with the people in that major.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was mostly mechanical students, except for those IDE, MDE classes, which is probably the biggest difference in like mechanical coursework and MDE coursework, is that mechanical students have that sophomore design thing, like that seminar. We also have a seminar, but I don't think it's really as beneficial as the mechanical engineering one, because those seminars, they have to account for everyone in MDE and IDE. There isn't like an acoustical engineering seminar or like a visual design engineering seminar, so you're mixed. And same with my senior design class. There's maybe like one or two other acoustical engineers in that whole classroom. And everyone on my design team is all in visual design engineering. So in some ways that can be kind of fun. You get to mix, you have a diverse set of skills on your team. But you also don't get maybe the hands-on experience in the classroom that you would in other majors that are more specific
to what you're interested
want to do. So you kind of have to go outside of that to find those resources. And they are there, but they're just not in your course load like they would be otherwise.
Yeah.
And speaking of like kind of course load, what are some of your favorite courses you've had to take? Like maybe not too much, maybe not MDE courses, but like, what are some of your favorite courses you've been able to get into?
I had to, well, I guess I didn't have to take this. You can take like area electives within each with each concentration. So for visual design students, that would be like, intro to sketching or something. For me, I got to take, it was in the theater school, actually. I'm not a theater kid. I'm not a big fan of theater as a whole. A lot of people in acoustics are, but there's also theater engineering too. I think acoustics is usually a more useful concentration than theater engineering. That's very niche. You're gonna have a tough time getting anywhere except for theater. But the class I took was, I think it was theater 253 or maybe it was 263. They changed the number every semester. It was intro to like sound design sort of stuff. There was I think it was sound studies is maybe what they called it. But it was a lot of fun. You got to kind of do all kinds of stuff in audio. So we talked about like audio basics, but also like recording technology, some like music production stuff, recording for like film and TV. Our like final project for that class was taking like a 3-minute clip from a movie, taking all the sound out, and then making all the sound effects, the music, and the dialogue yourself.
Oh wow!
Which was a lot of fun. I wish I had more time to devote to that because I had thermo the same semester, so that was
That probably sucked up
unfortunately
a chunk
took
of your
most
time.
of the time. Thermo was not my favorite class. Some of the ME classes are cool. I really like statics and dynamics. Those are kind of fun engineering classes. The higher end acoustics classes are super interesting. So for me, that was ME 413 and 513. 413 still being offered. The professor who taught 513 retired this last semester, Stuart Bolton. He's awesome, super cool. Maybe he'll visit from time to time. But there's also, depending on if you when you start acoustical engineering, there might be someone teaching 613 too, which I couldn't take because there's the acoustics faculty is pretty small. So there was just no one to teach that this semester, so that wasn't in my schedule. But usually it would be. I also took, this was in I think it was officially in the honors school. I don't remember the number of it. I also don't think it's offered anymore. It was called Music as a Chariot. And there was this guy named Rick Thomas, who is pretty important in the like theater and music school. Yeah. He does a lot of like sound design stuff. Super cool guy. He retired, I think, last semester, 2 semesters ago. But we love to just talk about music and stuff. He was very open to that. Most of the people in these classes are going to be music enjoyers of some sort, but it was cool. You got this like guy who's in his 70s, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll go to Lollapalooza. You'll find me in the mosh pits, bro." And I was like, "That's awesome." That's but yeah, the class was just going over his book, so I kind of doubt anyone would teach that now because I don't know if anyone else would teach his book.
Yeah. Jumping to your senior design class, because you said there's a whole bunch of people with a whole bunch of interests on your team. What project are you working on? How is selecting a project working? And do you feel like you're still able to work on areas of your interest in that project for the senior design?
I think it is. So I'm the one acoustical engineer, and then we got 4 visual design engineers on our team. So we ended up just going kind of like a product design route, looking for an area that we thought there could be a need for a product, and then designing something based on that. So we haven't like built anything yet, we're focusing on student posture, which has been pretty interesting. Not a whole lot of application to acoustics, admittedly. Maybe at some point that'll come into play. But I wouldn't really expect it to that much. Might not even put it on my resume. It's still like I think a important thing to get experience working in a team to design something. But you likely won't get specific
projects.
It sounds like where you really get that specific concentration and stuff that's really applicable to your major is in those clubs that you're involved in. So do you want to talk about the clubs that you're involved in and kind of what they are, what you do in them? Like freshman and sophomore year, I was trying to get into like a bunch of different clubs. I would recommend trying out a lot of clubs when you're a new student, but you always get out as much as you put into different clubs, so focusing on one is probably more valuable than splitting your time up among like 10. 100%. Yeah. Being an active member in a couple clubs is going to go a lot further when you're talking to recruiters or just having it on your resume than I went to the meetings for 10 different clubs.
That's what I was doing for
didn't
a while.
do much.
Eventually, my radio club kind of took all my time, so that kind of made the decision for me.
What have you been doing in the radio club?
So my radio club, I guess I'll give like the radio club spiel. We do like there's a club fair at the beginning of every fall semester called the Be Involved Fair.
Yeah.
Highly recommend that for any prospective students out there.
How many clubs go out there? It's about over like 1,000?
There's a lot of clubs.
There's a lot. Yeah,
Purdue as a whole has over 1,000 clubs and organizations, so basically one that can fit any interest. Yeah. And there's a lot of them that go to the Be Involved Fair. But let's hear the radio club spiel.
I first got into the radio club by talking to their table at the Be Involved Fair, so it's kind of a full circle thing to be at the Be Involved Fair.
Yeah.
You won't see me there because I'm graduating, but we'll probably still have a table. You can talk to people.
Yeah.
But radio club, we do primarily two different things. So it is a radio club. So we have a radio studio. It's in the basement of Wiley Residence Hall. You don't have to live in Wiley to be in it. We have a radio studio in there. You can go live. We don't have a radio tower. Purdue won't let us build one on top of the dorm, so I guess that's understandable. But we stream online instead at wileyradio.org. You can go to it now.
Okay.
You can listen online anywhere. There's not stuff playing 24/7. There's like a schedule where students have their own little hour, 2-hour time slot, and they can play music, talk about whatever on there. Sometimes there's
That's
just
really cool.
podcasts. There's not a whole lot of people that just like listen to
Yeah.
Wiley Radio. It's like you listen to your friend's show or something, or your your family members will listen in or whatever. And that's a lot of fun. I have my own show. I've had my own show since freshman year.
Yeah.
Some people will record music in there and stuff because we have a lot of solid equipment for any kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we have a lot more equipment for running outside of the studio. So the other thing we do is live sound stuff. So for other clubs, a lot of the times they'll need music. They'll need like a DJ or something, or they'll need just like a mic and speakers to make announcements at their event. So we can show up to that, and that's our primary source of income.
I was gonna say that's
Yeah,
paid.
I don't get paid. The club gets paid, which is why it's kind of hard to get people involved in that side of things because it's basically free labor.
Yeah.
Some of them are really fun though.
Yeah.
We DJ'd for like one of the we frequently do for the residence halls. We'll host like formal balls.
Yeah.
We get the DJ for those, and it's kind of like high school prom energy.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of fun. And our club gets paid pretty good for it. So. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But we host our own events too. So we don't do a ton of them because they're kind of hard to run. We got emo prom coming in a month. South Tower Ballroom,
Awesome.
412, 7 p.m. Be there, be square. Lots of student bands playing. A lot of bands on campus they want to play. You don't have to pay them. We don't have paid events. Everything's free. I guess we might in the future. I won't be here, but for the most part, yeah.
That's awesome. And I guess overall, how has MDE, as you're a senior going to graduate here in just a couple months, how has MDE really helped you find your career path? How has Purdue helped you in fulfilling your love for the major and just setting you up for that next step?
Yeah, for sure. I guess the nice thing about MD is that I've been able to experience like how sound works in a variety of different spaces. So like if I wanted to, I could start applying to work in like HVAC, but HVAC's not really that exciting. So no offense to anyone that works in HVAC. It's what my grandfather did for his entire engineering career. But
this makes sense. You know what he did, so you really want to get on a different path.
Yeah. But like I got some experience in like recording and technology, mixing engineering, that kind of stuff. Also like live sound, that's a whole different thing. In theater too, room acoustics, which is likely where I'll end up going.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten a job offer yet. I've got an interview Friday. We'll see.
Good
maybe
luck.
I'll be
Good luck.
MDE also does, since it's such a tight-knit group, there's a big like alumni network, and the advisors and faculty are always happy to connect you with different people. A lot of them have gotten to pretty great places, and they can connect you to the right people if need be. So yeah, lots of resources, different resources than other majors. It is much smaller, but being small, you're a little bit closer to those people. Yeah.
That's super cool. And I know you touched on the engineering alumni network for acoustical engineering, but that's true for the College of Engineering as a whole.
Yeah.
There's a huge alumni network.
Yeah.
We actually have just over 5% of all practicing engineers are Purdue Engineering alumni.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy when you think about how many engineering schools exist in the United States. That 5% of them are Purdue grads, and that basically gives you an upper hand when you're looking at jobs, because they know the caliber of engineers and the quality of the students that Purdue outputs. And that's something really unique about the alumni network, and they're always willing to give back as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, just wanted to say thank you so much, Matt, for taking the time and for your insights. We've thoroughly enjoyed having you on the show. And I guess that concludes this week's episode. We'll see you guys next week.
Sweet. Bye.